Wednesday they'll have dinner at their position coach's house, and then try to give them some semblance of home. And then Thursday we do a big team-wide Thanksgiving meal here, and so it's really a time of the year where we're able to spend time, not just X and O's, not just in the meeting rooms with our guys. Um, Recap the Texas game first. I thought it was a three-phase win. We played quality football in all three phases. We can play better. I don't think we played our best, but I thought it was quality football, and that was really the goal all week. Is let's play quality football. And talk about special teams first. Punt protection was much improved. We fielded all our kicks, which I think is big, especially they sprayed the ball over. Dicker is really good, and we were able to field those. And I thought the field goal was huge. Casey missed one. We would like to get him closer before half, and so I don't put that as much on him as we didn't execute a couple simple things in the 2-minute drive before half. But he came back and made the one in the second half, and that was big. You talk about the difference between an 8-point game there and a 5-point game on that last drive. It was huge. Defensively, I thought we finished the game. And if you go back through our season, is defensively we've had some opportunities. We've played solid defense all year, but we've had some opportunities in the game and we haven't. And we were able to end the game. You know, last two drives we got an interception that was huge on a fourth down play, and then the last drive they had, I think they got the ball 36 seconds and they never could get started, so they ended on downs. And then we limited our explosive plays. We played different against Texas than what we normally would. We were allowed to drop 8, and the main reason behind that was we really thought that we had a lot of respect for their wideouts, and especially Worthy. But Washington was really fast too. We thought our best form of defense was to keep the ball in front of us and limit their explosive pass plays. And we knew that they'd be able to ding us with some runs, which they did. But for the most part, we were able to limit the explosive plays, and it proved effective. Offensively, it starts with 0 turnovers. Didn't turn the ball over. We dominated the time of possession, and that was due to third and fourth down conversions. We converted even some really long third and longs, and then we scored touchdowns in the red zone. And to me, those were the differences. Award-wise, we always give awards when we win. You know that. Congratulations to Jarrett, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Thought he much deserved. He played extremely well. Thought he was on point. Didn't have the critical error that sometimes cost us. And I thought and especially in the first half, I thought he made some big-time throws. In-house, our award winners, our defensive player of the game was Sean Mahone. Graded out 96%, had 41 production points, which is extremely high. We had him at 8 tackles in-house, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup, and he just played. He was all over the field. We asked him to support the run even more so than he normally would, and I thought he played really well. And I said that after the game, and watching the film, it really proved that way. Offensively, Lineman Brown, we had him at forcing 10 missed tackles and 102 yards after contact. And he just played strong. Probably got him 5 more carries than I really wanted to. I didn't track it on the sideline. I normally would not let him get that many carries, so we'll have to be careful how we use him this week. Take it light on him in practice. But I thought he did a really nice job of just running through tackles. Special teams player of the week. This gets overlooked a lot, but Austin Brinkman, our long snapper, we put a lot of pressure on him this week on some things we changed in punt, and I thought he answered the bell. He was great. Field goal, extra points, and punt. I thought he did a great job. He's done a great job all year. Our offensive lineman of the week is Brandon Yates. He's played his best football the last 2 weeks. One of the few guys that played at a high level versus Kansas State. And then he came back and played it even better this week. We had him at 90%, 4 knockdowns, 3 great efforts. And he allowed no sacks and had no missed assignments. So that was his best game of his young career here. We always give out a blue collar award, and those are guys that maybe don't always show up as much in the stat sheet, but just play the game the way that we want it played here. Offensively is Wyatt Milam. Obviously, the block where he finished, that's getting a lot of airtime. But he plays like that all the time. He's physical. He's always young. He makes some mistakes, but he's exactly what we're looking for on the offensive line. And then on defense, Scotty Young, he played all 59 snaps. He's planning to play a different position. We played a dime package the whole game. He was in the box something he's not used to. And then he started on 3 special teams. So he played a lot of football and did a nice job. And then our scout team awards, offensively was Tomas Rimac, who's an offensive lineman that's getting better. He's redshirting this year. Defense was called Mazius Mosby, who plays on special teams for us. He's a great program guy. And then on special teams was Andrew Wilson Lamp, who's got a bright future here. Those are the special teams. And then our Juice Squad man's getting all kinds of attention this week. And Derek Ambrosino was our Juice Award. So and that's fun. Guys have a lot of fun with that. They were excited. They made it to Sports Center, so that was their goal. So we'll see what they got in store this week. But those are the award winners. Kind of moving on to Kansas now. Huge game for us on the road. I think Kansas is playing their best football. I've got a lot of respect for Coach Leipold. Even before getting to Kansas, we played him when he was at Buffalo. Schematically, they're very good in all 3 phases. If you go back and if you look at what they did in Buffalo, rebuilding that program and getting it to the peak, they're great talent evaluators, and schematically they do a really good job, and their kids always play extremely hard. That's no different here. He got thrown in, he hit the job he took over in May. That's extremely late in coaching terms, and they're really, you can tell he's got high level buy-in there, and they're playing their best football. Special teams, their punt returner Laster, he's their leading receiver, but he also leads the Big 12. So a challenge there. The kickoff returner Logan is their starting safety. He's had a couple big returns. We've obviously had issues on kickoffs, so that's going to be a challenge. And they got a kickoff specialist that kicks the ball out of the end zone and he can place it. So not sure if Winston will get any opportunities or not. Offensively, they stress you. That's the best explanation. They do a really good job of shifting in motion. They shift in motion pre-snap even more so than Iowa State. They want to get you confused. I think their football team, the reason they're playing, if I had to, I would give it 2 main reasons why they're playing their best football. Number one, I would put it on Lance and his staff, because you can see the things they've emphasized in and week out. They're starting to show up more and more. So high level buy-in. So they're doing a great job motivating them. Second thing is Jalen Daniels. He's been electric the last 2 weeks. He's made play after play versus Texas and TCU, and you can tell he's confident he's changed really the demeanor of the football team. Special teams and defense is even playing with more energy because of what he's doing. And he's a dual threat guy. He's been extremely accurate the last 2 weeks. You look at his passing numbers. He's not just a runner. He's a guy that can throw it. He's put it into some tight windows, made some plays under duress. I mean, I think he's playing at a really high level right now. The running back, Neal, I know he got hurt last week versus TCU. Not sure if he played, but he's a slasher freshman. He's doing a nice job too. And they have Lassiter, who's really just he's solid. He's a guy that has as good a hands as anybody in our league. He's been a really productive player there for a long time, and their offensive line is making strides. I think that's another piece why they're having increased production, because their offensive line is really coming along. You see that their offensive line's young and their DBs are young at corner and nickel. And as those 2 groups have improved, so is the play of their team. Defensively, play very hard, physical. I think they got, at each level of the defense, they got high-end players. The DN Johnson, he's got a quick first step. He's one of the better pass rushers in our league. He's got a motor. Linebacker Potter, been playing ball there for a while. He's smart, good tackler, gets them lined up. And then safety Logan, he'll be an all-conference player. Playing the run well. He's got some picks. Just a really good player. And like I said, their young corners are playing better. So our goal is we've got to stack some games. We need to play consistent football more so than just in a 1-game period. We need to do it back to back. We need to do it on the road. And we got to have a great week of prep to be ready to go and get that job done. So with that, I'll take questions.
So, Neal, injuries obviously a problem this past week, though you
Yep.
overcame it. But news on that? Any new ones, and hopefully anybody you're going to get back?
Well, I think that when you get this late in the season, they've got injuries as well. I think they'll be thin. We're going to be thin at some spots. So I'm not sure it'll have a huge factor in the game on either side because we're about even, kind of like Texas. Us in Texas, Texas had some injuries as well. We're hopeful Lance Dixon can get back and give us some snaps. And then, Bryce Wheaton, we're hopeful will play. He didn't finish the game the other day. We're hopeful he can play. Anybody in particular you want to know about? Charles Woods, he practiced yesterday. We're just going to see how he progresses. Hopeful would be the word I would use, but until he goes today and tomorrow, I can't give you a firm answer. Vandarius. So Vandarius, he didn't dress on Saturday. I would say that his status is kind of up in the air, and it's really up to him. But he's not injured, Mike.
Mentioned St. McLeod the other day. You've watched the film, your evaluation of true freshman out there, first start and all that.
Well, I thought, first of all, he played with a lot of confidence. I like his demeanor. He's kind of a guy that's not too high, not too low. He got a little anxious at times, overplayed some things. He over-pursued, which you'd rather have him do that, because he was playing really hard, but he overran the ball. Anytime he missed some tackles is because he just he didn't take a very good angle, didn't use the sideline. But I thought he did a nice job. We played mostly zone coverage. We didn't put him in any man situations versus those guys. I thought he was physical. We used him to blitz a couple times, and he made a difference. So pleased, and he'll get the start again this week. He'll play a lot this week as well.
How did the dime hold up last week against them?
Well, we had some challenges with it, and credit to Texas. So we caught them off guard probably a little bit, and so I think they had one plan to come in and probably attack us in a certain way. And how we were playing defense on Saturday, they had to regroup, and they did because they're really good offensive coaches. And what they did is they saw how we were fitting the box and went to some two-back stuff against those looks, and we were down a hat. And so they hit us with some runs. We missed some tackles. We mixed up the front after that, mixed up our box numbers a little bit, kept them off balance. But I would say it held up okay, good enough. I guess that's was it elite run defense? Absolutely not. But we felt like to win the game, if we could play like we thought we were capable of playing on offense, and we didn't let them throw it over our head, we had a really good shot. And what that did is it allowed us to see the ball and then rally and make some plays. And they hit us for an explosive run, and they hit us for some fives and some sixes. But I thought we did a pretty good job for something that was new to us, John.
Another answer, I guess.
It gave us an answer. It did. It gave us an answer, and it fit with the personnel we had to use in that game.
Do you go into this one expecting the unexpected? It's a night game, 2-9. Is that how you go about it, planning for this?
Yeah, I think that they're capable of doing a lot of things. They've used tricks. They're going to be aggressive and go for it on fourth down. I think that's something that they just believe in. I don't think it's necessarily because it's the last game of the regular season. I think that they've shown that their last year at Buffalo, and then this year that they really believe in being aggressive on fourth down. So we're going to be ready for any kind of gimmicks, any kind of trickery. I think that we have to be because they've used them. They've used them for success. Last touchdown they had against TCU was a trick play that they executed perfectly. They had a couple nice gimmick things that they did versus Texas as well. I think people use that too because it keeps it fun, right? Like we use a trick play and it went about as bad as it could possibly go. The kids like practicing it, but hell, it didn't work. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good in practice. But they used some two quarterback stuff last week, and so yeah, they're going to keep you on your toes. And they're I do it, and I'm not just saying that. Like I really have a lot of respect for the job they've done. Not just Lance, but they're on offense and defense. Their coordinators, I think, are both extremely sharp. And they've done a really good job with what they have right there, but they did a really good job at Buffalo too. So I'm not surprised.
You prep for them against Buffalo. Is there similarities what you prep for in that bowl game and what you're seeing from them this year?
Well, yeah, I don't think they've changed who they are or who they want to be. Now, in the bowl game there, they were several years into having their system established, and they had a guy that would end up being a draft pick, and they had a tight end that was a draft pick and 2 wideouts, and on defense they had a bunch of guys that were veterans, had a couple pass, so, and those guys had all been in their system, because they did a great job evaluating those guys. They're less than 6 months, 7 months into their system here, so that would probably be a question for them, John. I don't know if they have as much in as they would, into whatever year 4, year 5 that was at Buffalo. But how they play, that's it, because I went back and I pulled my notes from when we played them, and I've got extremely well coached. They're gonna take advantage of what you do worse. They play extremely hard. They're physical up front on both lines, and I think that all carries over. Which I think is ties into how they coach those guys.
You go into a little bit the unselfishness of Scotty Young and how he's
Yeah.
going around, and his last year he transferred in, and probably didn't go the way picked your year coming in.
Yeah. He so what I would say is he's a smart football player, first of all, Bob. He understands schematics of the game. And that's probably not the case as much now as maybe it used to be. I always reference back to when I was growing up, and some of you all are older than I am, and I'm going to assume when y'all were growing up too, you went outside and you played and you did sports, and maybe you played football in the backyard and you had to officiate your own. You called your own fouls in basketball. You played baseball where you had certain foul lines and all that kind of stuff. You got to remember, most of the time that's not what these kids have done. They're playing this, which there's a place for that. You understand some things playing video games, and but you maybe don't have the awareness that you had if you were out, actually playing and stuff. And so Scotty, to me, is kind of a throwback in that mode because he really has a good understanding of team defense. And he has an understanding of, like on special teams, kickoff is really a defensive play, and how you fit kickoff is very similar to how you fit an offensive football play when you're on defense. He understands that just from a structural standpoint. And so he's got the ability to play really five different spots. And we've used him as a dime wheel. We've used him as a spear. We've used him at both high safety spots. We've used him in our rover package when we go and we kind of give a 3 safety look. He's played all those positions. And because of his knowledge of our scheme, but also his understanding of just football in general, and it is unselfish of him, because he has played some different spots. But he is really he's been a quality addition to what we've done here. He played big in our bowl game last year when he first got his opportunity, when they passed the rule. And other than the games he was out, he's done a really nice job for us this year.
Your time of possession nationally is pretty good. It's been going up. That's like a subjective stat. Some coaches cling to it, some don't. So I was curious what you think about that. And also, it surprised me that it's so good because, you've had turnovers and some penalties that set you back, and I think you said third down has been hit or miss. That seems to be stuff that would work against it. How does that happen?
So third downs, we've not been bad, like in manageable third downs. We've actually been pretty decent for really how we've played overall, Mike. So I think time of possession, it matters when the other team's really good on offense. But it is to me, it's not the first stat I look at. All right, unless the team is really good on offense, and I think we're going to have a hard time with them. I don't know if that makes sense, but probably because if you're really good on offense, scoring fast is, if I had my druthers, I'd rather score fast, honestly. But that's not where we're at right now. And so reason I think for the time of possession is we haven't really played with a lot of tempo. All right, so we've been methodical. We've done more check with me, especially since the bye week, to get us in some best case plays. So that eats up some clock. And then we've had some high number play drives. probably more so than most. And so I think there's a lot that there's several different contributing factors. The games we've won, or the games where we've played better on offense, our third downs have been really high. You know, and I'm sure you probably looked at it because you're asking this question. Like, we've had some abnormal, like, time differentials, like, 16, 18 minutes a couple times, which is something that you just don't see very often.
You post-season diagnosis stuff, you try to find out what you've done well. I would imagine contain within whatever it takes to get that. There are positives there. Is that something you think?
Yeah, there's positives because especially when you're thin on defense. Okay, so when you're thin on defense, the less plays you get, the better. And so I think we've maybe focused on that last couple of weeks more so than we normally would. That was something we really concentrated against on Oklahoma, is kind of controlling the ball. It's not something that we go in every week saying, hey, we have to do this. It was a point of emphasis last week. It was against Oklahoma. But it was against Kansas State, which we did a better job, probably midway through the second quarter. But it's not something we go to and say, hey, man, we got to do this. We need to make sure that we win the time of possession battle, unless we're in those kind of scenarios.
You mentioned third down, and I went and looked at what Jarrett did on third down. 8 of 13, 135 yards, 1 touchdown. Why was he so good on third down on Saturday?
Well, I thought he had a clean pocket for the most part. His movements within the pocket. I think we had 2 drops maybe on third down twos. And so I thought his pocket movement was better. And he threw the ball. He had a good day. It was like no different than I'm sure some of us. We're going to have better days within our profession than others. And he had a really good day. I thought the ball really jumped off his hand. And it was if you go back and look at a couple of those crossing patterns he threw, like the first touchdown to Sam, and that was on point. It was a great route by Sam too, but that ball was on point, and it was buzzing. The ball was tight. I think we had some good plays too. I think that we really, that's something that we focused on last week was making sure that they were his best plays, and we just make them work versus Texas. Does that make sense? And so a little bit different process than you think sometimes, but we really concentrate on saying, okay, these are Jarrett's best plays. Let's make them work versus what Texas is doing structurally, defensively, rather than let's take these plays, all right, that we think are really good and get Jarrett, make sure, a little different train of thought there.
Has analytics changed the game, the offensive game, more in third and fourth down
Yes.
decisions than anything else maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the time that I use it the most. Because what happens is you go in, once you have a 4 down, so basically I'll make the decision that at a certain point when we start to drive, hey, we're going to go through it this is a 4 down. So really you can treat second down like you would first down. So whatever your game plan is going into the game on first down, you can use that on second. You play the third down like a true second down. And so it does. I think that and probably what it does as a coach, it just gives you confidence in making those decisions because the data backs up what your kind of gut is saying anyway. And so for me, we use that in like end of game, into half, timeouts. That's the 2 ways. The 2 points, I pay attention to it, but not to the second half. A lot of the data stuff will tell you to start going for 2 in the first half. That's not something I'm comfortable with just yet.
What's the distance on fourth down where you're in that gray area?
Well, it changes each week, so it's based on these charts. We use these charts and a lot of. I don't want to bore everybody, but there's a lot that goes into it as far as how they come up with the charts. Like how many possessions does your opponent possess? What's their stop rate on third downs? What's their stop rate on fourth downs? What's the other team's punter like? There's all these things that go into it, and they basically say, some of them are as aggressive. If you're playing in certain type of games, like I remember we played in Clemson in 16. It's really the first time we started using it heavily, and we went forward on like the minus 20 something, on 4th and 1. So. But they're different week in and week out, and there's much that goes into it. I wouldn't say I follow it 100%, but we follow it pretty close.
A lot of math.
Well, they do it where it's pretty easy to read. I'm not, yeah, you know what I mean? Like I'm not calculating the probability or anything, but they do it. They, it's a group that we use, and they give it to you in readable. We always we meet with them on Thursdays and kind of go through each game and opponents. Anybody else?
Does the analytics say anything about having 2 quarterbacks in the field at once?
We did it last week. I didn't know Kansas was going to do it, but we just did it to have a little fun, really. Well, I think that's something we can continue to use. We had a couple other things we could have done off of it. They did some neat things last week. They played the Bean kid and Jalen Daniels, and so we'll try to do it. You get late in the year, man. You try to, like I said, we did that when it worked. We went to our trick play, and whatever the opposite of good is, that's what that was. So sometimes you roll the dice and it works, sometimes it doesn't, but keeps them enthused. All right, see y'all. Y'all have a good Thanksgiving.